Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to HR Voices. In this series of HR Voices episodes presented by Centurion University, we are trying to build strong bridges between industry and academia and understand which areas need focus and more collaboration between the two. Today, we are diving into a topic that's all about the future. We are talking about Gen Z and the incredible and often untapped potential that lies in the collaboration between academia and the corporate world. So, if you're a student wondering how to turn your passion project into a real world career, a professor looking to give your curriculum a cutting edge twist, or a business leader trying to figure out how to attract and retain the best in young talent, you're in the right place. With two very learned guests, we are about to explore the collaborations, partnerships, and opportunities that are redefining what it means to learn, work, and innovate for Gen Z. We have with us today Dr. Rajorshi Ganguli. Dr. Ganguli is the president and global HR head at Alkem Laboratories. He is a distinguished HR leader with over 3 decades of experience in strategic HR roles in pharmaceuticals, petroleum, and engineering. A doctorate in HR, Dr. Ganguly's PhD research focused on Gen Z, exploring their expectations and engagement at the workplace. We are also joined by Professor KVD Prakash. Professor Prakash is the Dean, HRD, and Industry Integrated Education at Centurion University. He is the CEO of Centurion Capacity and Competency Development Center also. With close to 3 decades of multifunctional experience, Professor Prakash has earlier worked with Wipro, Reliance, Pentasoft Technologies, and NIIT. Here's the conversation. Good afternoon, Dr. Ganguly, and good afternoon, Professor Prakash. It is lovely to have you with us today. It's a privilege to have you both with us today.
Thank you and
Thank
very
you.
good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon.
And it's a happy, occasion. Uh, Dr. Ganguly is with us today, and he has recently launched his book, which is in the market now, Winning with Gen Z. And this is the topic that we are going to discuss today. Gen Z, how they are getting ready from campus to corporate world. First of all, Dr. Ganguly, we will discuss about Gen Z a lot today, but tell us briefly about your book and what motivated you to write this book.
Actually, this is my first book, and I actually never thought I would write a book, though my father did write few books. Now, what happened was, I was my PhD research topic has been around Gen Z and their retention, because I picked up this topic few years back, and I was interested to do research on. That's one part of it. The other part of it, I have three kids, my elder daughter followed by twins, and they're all Gen Z. So I've been observing their behavior over a period of time, and obviously being in human resource, I see this new workforce, the young workforce who are entering the corporate world. They have certain kind of characteristics. There are certain ways they want to work. They have expectation. So all this led to my research, which I did few years back. And when I was doing the research, and since my research sample spread around more than 100 companies and more than 1,400 people I surveyed across the length and breadth of the country. So a lot of in my network, they asked me to share the results. So I was wondering how to share the result, because statistically, if you put and show the result, it will be very boring. So then I thought, why not write a book and capture more the insights, the discussions I had, the observation I had, and intersperse with some of the findings and the statistics wherever necessary. So that gave me the idea. And in towards end of 2023, I started writing the book. Of course, it underwent multiple iterations, and then finally the book was launched this April. So that's the background.
Fantastic. Lovely to know about this. Let us get into the conversations about the requirements of Gen Z and how the campuses and the universities and the corporates, how they are changing according to the needs of Gen Z. Professor Prakash, how have you seen the university curriculum evolving to meet the needs and expectations of the modern workforce, particularly the Gen Z workforce?
Thank you for asking me that question. Indeed, what we see is um, we have been watching and observing that there is a change in the dynamics of the landscape in terms of learning connected to the industry. So, in that perspective, we have been also looking at the change of the curriculum, which is essential to really gear them up to the point of where the market landscape is changing or the industry requirements are changing. So that way, we had to really bring in those kind of programs or courses and incorporate that time to time, whether it is in a base of skill or in terms of a certificate or in terms of bringing it to the mainstream, the academic. And that is what one thing which we see the Gen Z is wanting to look at and wanting to adapt so that they learn. I think it's more to also to do with a lot of hands-on learning out there because that is what the industry needs from day one.
So, do you mean to say that we are adding more practicals and, more into the industry experiences that we are adding? What is it that we have changed?
Yeah, what we have changed is bringing in a lot of practical or field level or into hands-on learning process, and therefore there is a component of that which is a little more shifted, and that is what is good to adapt to the industry requirement, and the learning is fostering around that area, and that gives them an edge, and that is what the Gen Z probably wants, and their involvement and attention is also more in that space
That's right. That's right.
because that's how you
Fantastic.
keep them engaged
Yeah.
in the classrooms. Yeah.
That's right. Correct, correct. Dr. Ganguly, let us talk about skills from a CHRO's perspective. What are the most common hard skills like technical or analytical skills and soft skills like communication and problem solving, etc.? What are these skills which are missing in the fresh graduates nowadays? Do you think that these are missing?
When I come across the fresh graduates, and I must say that their knowledge level is very good from whatever background they're coming, whichever stream they're coming from. Uh, Fantastic. I mean, they are very intelligent. Their scores are very high. Uh, their communication is also good. I mean, they are confident. They communicate well. But when they land into the corporate, what's missing is how do they convert this knowledge into the ability to solve problems? The what Professor Prakash was saying that, how do you use this knowledge that you have to really solve the problem, analyze the situation, work with the people? So things that I see missing that, while they are digitally savvy, but putting this whole data, etc., that they have gathered into problem solving ability. I think that's what I see generally missing across function. The other part which I see while they are confident, they communicate well in the digital world, in the Instagram, etc. But when it comes to the work environment, communicating with people, influencing people, putting their point across, at times they struggle. And of course, these are not very difficult skills to bridge with the right mentorship and exposure and hand holding. They are smart enough, they would do that. But initially, we see this disconnect when we hire them.
Fantastic. Professor Prakash, your views about the skill gap. How do you think that universities are bridging this skill gap? And also about the soft skills in fresh graduates, like, in-person communication, like Dr. Ganguly was saying, emotional intelligence and resilience, hard work. How do you inculcate these in the fresh graduates?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely second the thought with what Dr. Ganguly was just mentioning and what you're saying now. Is to saying that, this gap is exists. And this is definitely seen right at the beginning, even more than when they finish out of the school. So what we do is right in the beginning, we kind of take them onto a baseline test in terms of where they are when they are entering into this kind of a stream of course, whatever they selected or taken as a choice. And then we try to really get them to the soft skill aspect of it, whether it is interpersonal, whether it is communicating, whether it's a team building. And then that's how we like to groom them. And we have a kind of a application where we see semester after semester whether there are certain skills which they have kind of inculcated, and that is the progress line which is seen. So by the time he doesn't open up to the time he opens up, so there's a shift in the learning and addressing of that gap which of an individual student. And that is one way of monitoring and measuring it, and that is what we have imbibed in this university also. And so that we have a attention of every student in terms of uh, building up that kind of a skill gap, identifying that right in the beginning at the entry point, and then getting them to work upon it. Of course, you can't sometimes expect a huge difference of it, but still there is a difference which you have made, and that gives them the edge to move on, and face the kind of a placement drive or a fulfillment drive, or get on to the industry and put that, the first step in. uh, the other thing is, I agree completely with Dr. Ganguli that the young crowd, which is the Gen Z, I think they are absolutely better than the most of the generations. But having said, when you are over and empowered with everything, because they are in a much more informative world, so what happens is channelizing it and directing it into a little bit of a, kind of a, what he said, coaching and mentoring, is a process which we've also realized in the university, and that actually works well. And we've seen, yes, there are some bright and flying colors which come out of them, and that's the way to go. So I certainly feel that that is what the Gen Z actually needs: more directing, more in terms of channelizing their energy level, putting into a formal structure and a formal process, and they actually yield a huge advantage for them.
That's fantastic. I like when you said that channelizing the energies in the right direction. Dr. Ganguly, in your view, when we are dealing with Gen Z, what is the right way to communicate the company's mission and values to Gen Z? And considering that what Professor Prakash has said, that they need channelizing their energies, how do we channelize their energies towards the company's mission and vision?
I think this is a very important question. How do we, because see, even in my research, I have seen that the Gen Zs are attracted towards an organization which has a purpose,
Right.
and that's very important for them. I mean, it's a deep subject by itself. So, how do we attract them to the company? It's, of course, on the face of it, there is a social media and other platforms to communicate. But interestingly, that's not enough. Uh, this generation actually seeks authenticity. So if I say, I stand for this, I stand for that, and if it is a mere lip service, they would find out very soon that, actually, what we are promising, we are not delivering. So they actually would like the organization to walk the talk. So which means that, they would look for real experiences of people, customers. Do they really endorse what the company is propagating or, advertising? So for them, these are actually the factors which attract them. They would look for social media reviews. I mean, I can advertise on social media that I stand for this, I stand for that, but that's more of a sales pitch. So beyond the sales pitch, they actually would like to see the real life stories. Is the company very inclusive enough? Are they kind of socially responsible? How are their kind of ESG scores? In fact, they look for these kind of data point before they choose an organization to work. And if after joining they find that some of them are very hollow practices, they sometimes get very soon detached from the organization.
You very beautifully mentioned about the purpose driven, the objective of the Gen Z being purpose driven work. Professor Prakash, how does this purpose driven work has is shaping the career choices for students now? What have you seen in your experience in the university that the choices are changing for Gen Z?
Coming to the first part of the question, I think there are two categories of students which I have to broadly put in across. I think some are very well informed and they make the choices even before they get into the system in terms of the university, and they drive that and then try to put on a milestone and take them and and try to achieve that. So that is one side of it. The second are a little bit not very clear about it. So they need a channelizing of it and they need a talk, small talk. And that is how, when you give them that kind of a support, they also are looking for choices which are not just the normal stream of engineering, medicine, or etc., but they're looking at new fields. For example, some of them are looking into forensic science, and some of them are looking into some of these paramedics, and some of them are looking into veterinary and animal science. So there is a choice which today the young generation comes with a much more informed kind of an approach, and they want to make a different choice, not just the first, second, third, fourth choices, which most of that was there in the earlier generation. So there is a shift in their thought. And they, I think, as rightly said by Dr. Ganguly also, that they are wanting to be with a purpose defined there.
Yeah.
So whether even they go for photography, I think they are looking at, yes, this is exactly who am I, and this is how I believe in what I can deliver. And they are looking at certainly scaling up in that particular area. So there's no such kind of a discrimination in their mind thought that this is good and that is not good. I think that's a good part of this Gen Z. This is what my understanding goes. And that's what is happening at the university level. So we are finding that we have all the courses being taken in a similar way. And the students who come into those streams, I think they are very convinced and they have a conviction that, yes, they are in the right place. So the sense of purpose being defined there is very important for the learning to happen, because only then they can get on to and scale up to where they want to see themselves.
Fantastic. From purpose driven learning and purpose driven work, let us now talk about mental well being. Everybody's talking about mental well being. Gen Z, of course, we know they are extremely concerned and they want to focus as much as other things as on their well being, as mental well being, especially. Do you think, Dr. Ganguly, there is a mental health crisis among Gen Z? And how can you, from your role, collaborate with the systems that you have to provide a good support system for Gen Z workforce for their mental well-being?
Partly covered this topic even in my book. I think somewhere this mental well-being and other, I think it is bit hyped also, I feel.
Yeah,
I think some of this is also self-created pressure. Uh, I think the Gen Z would have to also understand that they need to adapt wherever they are going, whether it's the education institute where they are studying or the organization where they are going. Of course, most organization today, the good organization, they have a support system to take care of these factors. Like, there are mechanisms to counsel, there are platforms to talk to someone if somebody feels stressed. So all these platforms are there. Even in my own organization, we have created this platform. But what's important for them to understand is, and for the organization to understand is, how do you create the right ecosystem so that they feel at ease when they
correct.
come to work. Because and this is one thing I have also mentioned in my book towards the end, that intergenerational collaboration. Sometimes I have seen this stress comes out of not able to collaborate well. So while the older generation also need to accept them, change their ways of doing things to kind of make them feel engaged. It's the other way around also as Gen Z. How do you understand the expectations of the organization, the way organization work? And I think that's where uh, the universities or the education institute would also have to prepare them, and so that how do they handle work pressures? How do they handle, workplace expectations? So I think bit uh, preparation is required when they are ready to go to the corporate. And and when they come to the corporate, the right induction system, the orientation system, and the peer group supporting them to make them feel at home. I think all has to work together to address this issue of well-being. And it's not
So
just the mental well-being, we have to see in today's generation, and we talk about it, the financial well-being. How
yeah.
do you pick up habits to kind of ensure that you're financially well off, mentally well off, physically well off? Are you we do also some sessions on educating not just this generation, but all generation to how do you take care of yourself? You know, eating habits, sleeping habits, all this put together will really, create a good, wholesome individual.
Fantastic. So, in fact, that is a question for you, Professor Prakash, that Dr. Ganguly, he himself is saying that the universities need to prepare the students, that they are prepared for moving the transition from campus to corporate is smooth. How do you prepare your students for this transition?
Yeah. So one of the things which we do is we have a mentoring process around that. And then every student is supposed to come in, other than having the mentoring more in terms of a larger perspective, we also narrow it down to have a individual kind of a approach. And we give them the opportunity to speak about themselves, to listen to them. Because one of the things which we notice is when they are not attended to, also is a lot of stress which comes into them, and probably because that is where and that is how they come with the background of what they carry as a baggage. So you undoing all of that and then getting them to a fresh stream of it is essential. So listening is a very important facet which we realize in the university level. So and we give a fair level of listening to the whole process, and then we try to support wherever it is required. And sometimes it is more emotional, so we'll have to bring them to the logical end of it and tell them why it is important for the purpose where he's or she is here, and then give them the kind of a linkage to it. And time to time we try to figure out whether there is an improvement, and if so, how, in what direction. And there is a mutual discussion and mutual respect which we share. And also, I think one of the most important things, we also tell them that look, life is not that easy, so you have to take the pressure on. And today you probably are not, but you need to prepare. So creating that mindset in them and preparing them slowly, because they cannot shift so fast. And that is one thing we do. Along with that, we also put them into a lot of activities in the university. For example, the various programs which we have, whether it's cultural, social, or any of the community kind of linkage programs, or either workshops or seminars, we invite a lot of industry people, and then we get them onto the floor and also ask them to deliver these things to the students. And in the process, there is some kind of a understanding which takes place from the third voice, to saying that yes, this is what is the requirement, this is how the industry is looking at. So we have the industry talks, we have the workshops, we have seminars, and that is an exposure to them while being in the studentship. And that prepares slowly. So it's a sum total of all these touch points, I think, make them what it should be to a large extent. Because you cannot have one in isolation and disconnect to the other. It has to be a linkage. So a chain of all this is what actually strings together.
Fantastic. You have briefly mentioned about the pressures that the students, you prepare them to handle the pressures. Dr. Ganguly, what are the top expectations you've seen from Gen Z employees, especially about work-life balance and flexibility? Because at one point we are talking about pressures, and another place we are talking about flexibility. What do you feel about it?
I think this subject is, talked quite a bit. I particularly don't feel that, Gen Zs are very kind of the classical understanding of work-life balance. What they really require at work is flexibility. What it means is, the classical way of doing work was, let's say, a 9 to 5 or a 10 to 6 type of a job. Now, if you subject a Gen Z or a new entrant to the workforce to these classical ways of looking at things, sometimes they feel suffocated. What's important is to, you know, uh, clarify what's expected out of them, what's delivery that we look from them on a day-to-day basis or at a given interval, and leave it to them to deliver. What doesn't work is, when And typically I've seen when they are paired with managers, and obviously since they are new entrants to the workforce, they are paired with managers of Gen X or Gen Y. They tend to micromanage, which they don't like. Uh, and I have seen examples where Gen Zs have come to me and they say, look, I don't like my boss asking me updates for every half an hour or 1 hour. That's they don't like. So for them, work-life balance is more than balance, it is like work-life integration. They will
Yeah.
not mind working even 18, 20 hours a day when they find the job to be interesting.
Yes.
And so you don't have to tell them. So make the job interesting. Uh, Give them the clarity what is required, leave it to them to deliver. Don't kind of you know keep micromanaging, asking for updates, do unnecessary reviews, do not ask for unnecessary presence if not required. Leave it to them. I think they understand and they would do it well. This kind of trust is very important, when you are dealing with this generation. And we keep even educating the managers that, uh, you know, 10, 15 years back, the kind of workforce you are handling, and now it's very different. Please understand how they are used to working. For them, work is not necessarily coming to office and getting things done between 9 to 6. They work till late in the night or early in the morning. They will deliver it, provided they feel it's really meaningful and interesting. So that's my view on work-life balance.
Fantastic. From flexibility, let us talk about the new ways of learning. Professor Prakash, with the rise of alternative credentials like certifications and nano degrees, do you see the traditional 3 and 4 year degree courses becoming less relevant? And how is the universities and your university responding to this trend?
Yeah, that's really interesting one. Uh, if you look at on one end, the kind of mainstream courses, they each one of them have credits. And if you look at the certificate courses or skill courses, they also have certain amount of credits. Interestingly, what has happened, as exactly what we were talking in the other side of the topic, when the question came to you, from you to Dr. Ganguly, the same thing is applicable here. Is to saying that they want freedom, they want a choice. And the interesting thing is, I think, which aligns with the Gen Z and the industry, that you actually can go and come back from the industry experience and learn, and you can actually have to your bank of credits. You can keep on adding, and so you are actually at the equivalent level by doing the certificate in skill. You are having those credits in your credit bank, and it is equivalent to the mainstream course. So in a one way or the other, it's just about the way you want to look at it. End of the day, the number of credits actually qualify you to where you should be. So I don't think, in my opinion, and also the way we operate in this university, because we have skills and certification courses, both of them too early in, having come to us, and we are the one who have been very early lead on that. So we see that actually it is the same. It's just about how a student or a candidate wants to pursue themselves. Where some want the industry experience and then go to the next because the learning becomes better, but otherwise, you get into this and then get onto it. So I don't think there isn't much of a difference there.
Fantastic. There is a lot of talk about AI and automation also. Dr. Ganguly, how is the rapid pace of change in the corporate world, particularly the increased use of AI and automation, how is it influencing your hiring strategies? And do the degrees still matter, or you are looking for growth mindset and the attitude to work?
Yeah. So there are two parts to the question, and I would answer them. If you ask me about AI and automation, obviously, it's making inroads to every industry and organization in different ways. Even in traditional organization like ours, I'm not counting the new startups, and those are there in the IT or ITS kind of sector. Even in traditional organization like us, we are seeing increasing number of AI automation being put to use cases. And of course, these are early days, but things are settling down. And I guess another 1, 2 years down the line, this will be part and parcel of every function. Uh, you know, Now coming to the hiring and all, Are we just hiring for skills and not for degrees? I think the jury is out there. Uh, Particularly, let's say the industry that I come from, in certain functions, we cannot let go of the education degrees. For example, if I'm hiring for core R&D skills, certain chemistry skill, or any kind of manufacturing process, we would expect the person to come with that kind of education background because I cannot play with the safety and the regulatory norms. For example, if I'm hiring a doctor, I have to hire somebody who has studied medicine and that kind of background. However, in certain functions, even in our kind of industry, let's say sales and all, sales or certain supply chain or maybe some other functions, we could be agnostic to education degree. Though it's very early days, I mean, our mindset has still not fully shifted to accepting just skills. But yes, certain functions people are open to now than they were in the past. For example, in sales, I mean, earlier even in our kind of pharma industry, people said that we should only hire in sales people who are coming from science background or pharma background. Today, that is more liberalized. We even accept people from commerce background, arts background, and train them on, you know, the selling skills, the human anatomy, and the medicine part of it, which is required for them to be an effective salesperson. But in the core process and science areas, we have not ventured into that. But even in those areas where we are banking on education degrees, because that's the entry level requirement, it's like the entry visa. There also we are looking for these kind of other skills, whether the person possesses or not. That their digital skills, exposure to newer technologies. Of course, we look for people with good potential, openness to learning, because the shelf life of all skills today are also very short. Today, whatever we are hiring, even we don't know after 5 years whether the same skills would be valid or not. So we
Correct.
also look for people who are open to learning, unlearning very rapidly. They are adaptive. So to summarize your question, yes, there are certain areas we have to hire people with the right set of degrees, but having right set of degrees is just a visa. Thereafter, we check for other things. In certain other functions, and I'm sure that applies to many other industries also, people are open to different kind of education background, so long as the skill sets are intact.
Fantastic. We are short of time, but I really want to, ask you, Professor Prakash, what is the most important piece of advice you want to give to a Gen Z student who's currently navigating the academic journey? What is your one piece of advice?
Yeah, the only advice probably would be that their energy and their focus, I think they need to affirm that too early and channelize it and go for one of the two in terms of targets, and they would definitely achieve it because today they have a lot more information and data in their hands and the tips. So which I think none of the generations before had. So they have a great power, and as long as they actually buzz the right thing, and I think the power surges, and that is where they will be able to get the best opportunity which they are dreaming of. And confidence in themselves is fundamentally the most important. And without being restless, they need to be persuading, and they have to be persisting with it for a very very long time, and then only they should be able to get the success. So the piece of advice there is that I think they have to stay on course and not shift. That's the most important thing.
Fantastic. Dr. Ganguly, your important piece of advice that you would like to give to the Gen Z workforce or your team members who belong to Gen Z?
I think professor said stay on course. I would say stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay curious, and be very adaptive and be open to a lot of uncertainties. Learn to uh, navigate amongst the uncertainties because I think the rate at which uncertainty is increasing in the business world or any other industry, it's far too high than what it was few years or few decades back. So, and I'm sure the future would be much more tough. So people should be open to accepting these things. Uh, Stay focused. Don't shun hard work. I think that's cannot be substituted. Of course, you need to be smart, but hard work is very important.
Yeah.
And be open, and be open to collaborate, learn from others, because the world is interdependent. You cannot do everything by yourself. So learn to also work with different people, different generation at peer level, and because with everyone you can learn something or the other which will make you a much more effective individual. So that would be my piece of advice.
Very interesting. We today we heard the views from a person from campus and a person from corporate. Fantastic. It was a privilege. It was a pleasure to have you both with us today for this talk. And congratulations again, Dr. Ganguly, for your book. I'll be finishing the book very soon. And uh, we hope to see you again very, very soon on our show or probably one of our events very soon. Thank you so much for joining us today.